The POCO M3 has just launched and it has a Snapdragon 662, 4GB of RAM and a triple camera array on the back. This is the new budget phone from POCO and it's a step below the POCO X3 NFC, which just launched a couple months back. I've been playing around with this one for about a week or so and I've been enjoying it, but there are a couple of quirks that I want to talk through. This is Adam Conway with XDA TV, reviewing the POCO M3. So to give you a bit of backstory on what POCO is an offshoot of Xiaomi. They were owned by Xiaomi, they've claimed independence about 3 times now. We're not going to get into that, but basically they are apparently now their own brand that does their own thing. They still use Xiaomi's MIUI, and there's a lot of Xiaomi influence obviously throughout the system and using the device. I've been very happy using it, but it's the same experience that you'll get on a Xiaomi device sans the launcher, which is a POCO launcher instead of the regular MIUI launcher. I know MIUI is controversial, but for a lot of people, including myself, I do enjoy using it. I like some of the UI changes, I like the changes under the hood. I found that it's not too aggressive at killing apps, which is a big issue on other phones, which we've talked about here on the channel. So I am a big fan of having a smartphone that actually works as a smartphone, as opposed to having a thing where my apps don't actually give me notifications, which tends to be an issue. Are the apps getting overzealously killed in the background? Those tend to be issues on other devices. I don't really tend to have those on MIUI devices, so it's always a pleasure using one. The POCO M3 has been no different in that regard. Despite having 4 gigs of RAM, it has killed apps. I'm not saying it hasn't, but it's not been as bad as other devices. I think overall, the 4 gigs of RAM, I saw it being complained about, but it's fine. I'm happy with it. I think it's good. However, getting into other aspects of the phone, I think the Snapdragon 662 is as expected. Apps run fine. You'll be able to browse the web and do things on the phone. It can be a little sluggish at times, especially in Google Chrome, which I think has optimization issues on Android anyway. Because if you've ever seen it, I've seen complaints loads of Google Chrome on countless devices, even just locking up occasionally. I've had it on all my flagships where it locks up every now and again. So I think the Google Chrome app itself is a bit not optimized, but anyway. Other apps have been fine. I use Twitter, I use Facebook. All these things have been grand. It's a phone that gets the job done. It does exactly what you want the phone to do, which I think is half the battle when it comes to a smartphone. But obviously, as I've said, there are performance hitches. There are downgrades from other devices. It is not a perfect phone. It's nowhere near a perfect phone, and that's what you get with the price. The price is €149 for the early bird sale. The early bird sale may actually already be done by the time this video is up. I wouldn't want to upload a review of this because I only got it the day after launch. I would have had to rush it if I wanted it earlier. I wanted some time to actually play with the device and use it and see what it's like. I'm happy with it, and I think €149 is a good price, but for €189 you may as well go up for the POCO X3 because that's €50 more. Now I understand with these devices, €50 of an upgrade is a lot of money considering it's nearly a quarter of the price of the current POCO M3 if we're assuming it's not at the early bird price. So that upgrade to a POCO X3 is actually quite expensive, and I understand the argument to say why not just spend an extra €50, but the people that this phone is aimed at are people who may not have a lot of money to spend on a phone or who may not want to spend a lot of money on a phone. So when you tell them spend 25% more to get a better phone, that is a lot of money. So I can understand the price banding on this, and I think that the POCO M3 does a good job at staying in the lane that it's in and being a good competitor against the rest for maybe a little bit more. But it also blurs the lines between the two because between a decent mid-range and a low-end budget device, the POCO M3 sits nicely. It has a lot of good specs. Like I said, that Snapdragon 662 is good. I'm not having issues with the phone where it's lagging constantly. It's nice. It's a 60Hz display. It can handle 60Hz. Now obviously not everything is perfect. You have the triple camera array, which is fine. The camera is a bit meh. 48 megapixels. Yeah, it's using pixel binning. The photos can be nice in good lighting, but most of the time it's not great. I have some camera samples that I'm showing you. You'll see what I mean. It's not perfect. It's good, it's not great. And then you get other features too, like you get the Mi remote, you get dual speakers. All of these things are pretty good additions that if you need these in a budget phone, the POCO M3 is a no-brainer. The Mi remote is incredibly useful because you can add so many different devices and use the IR blaster on the top just to control everything around you. I don't use it personally too much, but I understand people who do, and I used to use it more than I do now on previous devices such as the Xiaomi Mi 9. We're talking about a feature that has come from Xiaomi's flagships all the way down to a budget device, and it's useful for so many people. Me personally, not really, but I can understand that it is for a lot of others. And the dual speakers as well sound pretty good, actually. I was impressed for the price that you're getting. And then finally as well, there's the 6000 milliamp hour battery, which is just insane. It charges at 18 watts, so it takes a good while to actually charge, but you can use this as a power bank. Poco has been advertising this as a device that you could use to power your other devices, which is incredible when you think about it. 6000 milliamp hour is incredible, it's so good, and with this device the battery just does not die. I have been exceedingly happy with it. I think this is one of the best battery devices that I've used in a while, but that makes sense considering 6000 milliamp hour battery, 60 Hz, Snapdragon 662, and then MIUI's optimizations on top of that, which means that apps don't tend to actually drain your battery. As I've said, it's not killing the apps I'm not using, but MIUI has a lot of optimizations for power usage in general, and it's doing very nicely at that. Overall, if you need a phone with a great battery, POCO M3 is good enough. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the build quality, because the POCO M3 has a really unique textured back on it. It comes with a case, I have a clear case on it, and it comes with a screen protector. But when it's outside the case, it's a plastic shell, but it feels textured, it feels grippy. The shape of it is weird, but in a good way. I've not really had a device, it feels very unique. I've not had a device that feels like this. It's nice, I love using it, and it feels good in the hand, and it even looks like leather. It's not actually leather, but when you're looking at it from a distance, it looks like it could be leather. And then at the top you have a headphone jack, so honestly, there's a lot to love. So this has just been kind of a quick review of the POCO M3. There's a lot of good things about it, and there are just those little quirks, like for example the camera's not great and the software can lag at times, but that's what you're getting with a Snapdragon 662. That's what you're getting with a budget device, and it is a very good option for people who don't want to spend a lot on a phone or can't. If you can spend more on a phone but you don't want to, I would highly recommend taking a look at the POCO X3, simply because it is a lot better of a phone and is still in the same POCO realm where you get MIUI, you still get an IR blaster, you still get a headphone jack. All these things are still great, but if you really don't want to spend that money or can't, the POCO M3 is a perfect option. I want to hear your thoughts on the POCO M3, because I've been quite impressed. It's not perfect, and I'm not switching to it over other devices long term, but I've been happy with it, and I think this is a good budget option for pretty much anybody. So yeah, let me know what you think. This has been Adam Conway with XDA TV. Thanks for watching.